whatever I say could also add some value to everybody who's watching from home. And I would give this back to anybody else who wants to elaborate on that introduction.
Okay, maybe I can elaborate because mine was like the briefest. So I'm with MTN and I'm in the IT department, have been for a while. Obviously, I have occupied a couple of roles. I think I've touched all areas. Maybe the one area that I haven't touched on is on the infrastructure perspective. I'm currently in delivery. So we design solutions and deliver to you guys. I'm sure as we continue, we will end up talking about the products that we roll out to the business. So in my space, we look at rolling out systems which you eventually don't get to see up to the part where you have a product that you see. So yeah, I deliver. I allow the operations team to then have the sleepless nights. For me, the sleepless nights are when I go live only. I'd say it's very interesting because we get to work with the rest of the world. We work with South Africa, India, you name it. We are like one world, one big world. So it's very interesting. I'll give somebody else an opportunity to elaborate.
Shakes, do you want to elaborate on that? Please, would you please elaborate for us?
Thank you for bringing back the opportunity to speak to me, Mr. Lamini. Well, I would say one of the reasons we are here is to speak about the impact of the new normal, especially on the education sector. And as somebody who is working on an organization that's deeply embedded in the education system in Eswatini, we have seen how, and as a student myself, I'd say, I've seen how I've had to adjust the way that I learn and the way that I go to class when it comes to learning, taking assignments, and all of that. And we can imagine that how the transition has been for young people or students in Eswatini, and a lot of places, even here in America, have struggled to sustain, good outcomes for students, and those students were able to transition to online learning like efficiently. But in Eswatini, where a lot of students haven't been able to, transition to online learning because, of cross-cutting issues with respect to lack of infrastructure, lack of services that cater to remote learning, lack of resources such as like data, or lack of resources such as like the devices that students would need to use to log into online classes, and also lack of expertise, because now teachers had to come up with I'd say innovative ways in which to teach and ensure that the continued learning of students while they were from home. And so this is an issue that actually requires all of us to kind of think deeply and innovatively about how, what this new normal means for the education of youth in Eswatini and of young people, and from primary to high school to university. And I think I'm glad that we have entrepreneurs, we have people from the private sector, and hopefully and we've seen, I'd say, how the government has, and as well as teachers have responded to the situation. And so I'm interested to hear the different point of views that each of the speakers today will bring into the conversation, and to glean from each and every one. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shakes. I think you've done a very great job in actually just, starting us off in the fact that this is supposed to be a collaborative effort in terms of going forward, because it has affected all of us at different areas,
Your
different
online
levels and in
presence
different
makes an
ways.
impression.
But you also mentioned
Make sure
especially
your
education. Of course, you're a student, you would start with education. So I guess that would be a good place to start for our conversation this evening. To first of all, look at, for Eswatini, how we can quickly transition, because I do understand we have an issue of infrastructure and all of those things, but at the same time, we can't waste a year. I saw Kenya announced, I think yesterday, that the school year has come to an end and they'll shift everything to 2021. But I don't think our country is looking to do the same. So I'd be wondering to hear, maybe I'll take this one to you, Sino, first. What do you think are the things that need to be put into place in the next couple of weeks, for the country to be able to reopen schools, especially before we even speak about reopening the economy, maybe to its full extent?
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the infrastructure, obviously, all government needs to step in to support the schools to get data. I know some of the initiatives had already started, the introduction of science labs and all of that. And obviously now that may not be very effective. So it needs to move home. And organizations such as mine are being put under pressure to offer cheap data. I'm sure we have, because ever since COVID started, we've been busy with the work from home packages for some of the corporate organizations. So even study sites were made free as part of an initiative to support government. But you can't make everything free, because as an organization, you are in it to make money. So whilst you support the community, you also want to be making money. Remain in business. Otherwise, you'll go under. Because crisis, yes, it falls on everyone. And for some people, it lifts them up. I won't say who got lifted up, because then they might find themselves under pressure to share. But crisis, for some people, it will bring you down. So how I see us progressing is we need to look at how do we make data affordable, to the point that even parents are able to buy data for their students so that they're able to study online. So what organizations such as mine can offer for free, let them offer for free. And I also want to put this disclaimer: I'm not talking on behalf of MTN here. I'm talking on behalf of myself. So this is not official MTN business, but as a community member, I would suggest that government looks at exploring such things. And then obviously that goes to then gadgets, because schools that are in Baban and Manzini, you find even the kids, they have gadgets, they have laptops, they have phones. But if you start moving to the rural areas, you need to look beyond that. How do we then make sure they are affordable, whether it's tablets or laptops or computers? How do we make that available? So we kept the situation and we create this new norm that we don't necessarily have to leave home all the time. Let all these things, like the advanced countries, you don't really need to leave your apartment or your house. Everything gets to you. So that should apply even for education. I know that there's a lot of adapting that needs to happen, including the teachers, because when you are at home, we've seen these things. It depends on whether your children are little or grown. A lot of times we hide because we don't have the cameras on, so we don't see what's happening in the background, but you can hear kids making a lot of noise in the background. So yeah, it's an evolution, I would say. We need to evolve. We take baby steps. We see where we can improve. That goes for everyone, actually, whether you are at school or you're not at school. Because even if you are working, you still want to develop yourself. Tertiary, in other countries is already advanced. They have online exams. We need to start doing the same. We need to adapt and evolve as a community. I think I'll end there for now. Otherwise, I probably won't finish talking.
All right, thank you, Sino. Thank you so much. You've given us a perspective from a corporate angle, even though you are speaking as a member of the community. I must say that your opinion is really upstanding. You are an upstanding member of the community. I'll hand over the reins again to Leendor, and she'll explain why she needs improvement in infrastructure in as far as technology is concerned in this country, because we've moved completely digital, and I hope, as we enjoy this conversation, technology will not come between us and our success.
Thank you very much, PhD, for putting me on the spotlight. And apologies again, ladies and gentlemen. I have technological issues which we need to look into and hopefully fix in the future. My connectivity is really, really, really bad. I hope that I will stay here for the duration of the conversation, and we won't have an interruption again. Unfortunately, I'm not sure where you guys were now, but I will try and pick up from where PhD was in terms of the conversation. I heard that you guys were speaking about institutions, learning institutions, and in terms of data and connection and people learning, and the people learning online. And you mentioned the fact that we have students that are taking online exams, and yet and that is progression on its own. But unfortunately, we do have students that are not, don't have access to even the gadgets themselves. They don't even have access to even knowing what data is. Then we have institutions that actually are not even online as we speak, and students are still at home. So I'm not even sure how do we mitigate that, now, because of the kids that are left behind, and we have the ones that are in the city that have all the access to everything, and their education is progressing. But at the end of the day, we want to get to a first world country that has educated kids, and that educated kids is all abroad. That is, the whole nation should be educated. We shouldn't leave any man behind. But due to the new normal, we have, unfortunately, the scales have tipped. We have people that are now lower than others. And that even goes for our institution, because even if we provide online facility for the students, the truth of the matter is, even in institution levels, we still have people that are living below, the poverty curve, So I don't know how we can all mitigate that in all our different sectors, and how we can actually assist the students now with the new normal, I'll give it back to you, either you, Sino, and then I'll give it to Thandolwethu, who is currently at school.
Okay, so I have a lot of ideas, because as MTN, not speaking on behalf of MTN, we have the infrastructure, we have the numbers. So I'll use an example like Momo. Momo is now touching the whole of the country. I know there are people out there who would want to share their resources or give in terms of this initiative for gadgets. But what is lacking is there's someone driving it. To say we need, maybe there's an assessment already, we need 10,000 gadgets for these schools which don't have, and then there's internet, and then come up with a figure, let's say 200,000. There are people who would, in an instance, pay that money. We've seen this, the use of Facebook. Some people have been donating bread. I'll mention Ila Penboy. He's been donating bread every day to the less privileged. So all that is required is for someone to take the initiative, to take the step to say, okay, I'll be someone who's not gonna abuse any funds, because that's also the other challenge.
Yeah.
Take the initiative to say, here's a study we've done. These are the number of students. This is what it will take to put them back. MTN will allow you to move mobile money around securely to the school if that's how you want to drive it. I know that trying to bring in, phones into the country is a bit of a challenge at the moment. I've been trying to order a phone for the past how many months, and the other issue is prices went up, and I'm not willing to spend 30K on a gadget. So what I've done is I've prayed, God, please let the dollar drop. So I'm giving it some time, and then I'm gonna have to order because I need to get a new phone. So all of that, obviously we can, if we do the research, you buy in bulk, you can get a discount. So we can order direct from China. Even MTN can order if that the Samaritans have put in the funds. MTN can order, get a discount, discuss. So I'd say from an infrastructure point of view, we have the means. We just now need the funds to move in. But somebody needs to take the initiative. So someone listening or in this.
So somebody, hey, somebody out there who's watching this, please take the initiative so that our kids can have the gadgets that they need. It's not that we don't have the resources, we have them. We just need someone to actually just stand up from where you are and drive this for us, please. We are begging you, whoever you are out there. Tandolwe.
Yes, and to echo that, because we have all benefited from the education system, whether well, all of us, I'd say most of us here were educated in Eswatini, and so we have benefited from the education system. So we need to think about how we can give back to it. And then also, whether it's companies in the private sector, they benefit from the education system as well, because the employees come from the system, as well as the employees leave their kids in the system when they're at work. In order for them to be productive, they need to make sure that their kids are learning in their schools. And so the private sector has benefited, and the government has also benefited, with all our contributions in our different areas. And so I'd like to emphasize that this calls for collaboration across all sectors. And in terms of taking initiative, this is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Because if you come up with a solution and you come up, now there's a need, I'd say, that has been created by the pandemic. And so as an entrepreneur, you can come up with a solution and come up with a plan and a viable business model to meet this need, and we can see this problem being solved. So young people, this is also a call to all young people in the country to think about creative ways, innovative ways to tackle this challenge and come up with a solution that will ensure that the youth in Eswatini are learning. And at TKI, we are also working hard to help spread information to young people, to continue using different platforms, social media, and the newspaper, as well as with a good partnership with the MTN Foundation to share information about what opportunities are available for young people to take advantage of, to advance themselves academically, or to continue learning from home, or other opportunities to advance their careers, as well as maybe advance their entrepreneurial pursuits.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I personally follow the work that is done by TKI, and you guys are doing such a a wonderful job there. And also in terms of what you're saying with entrepreneurs, they are normally born where disruption is. So where chaos is, that is where entrepreneurs are normally born. So this is their time to actually stand up and shine. Amongst the ITs, your technician gurus and everyone around, I think entrepreneurs, this is their time to wake up and shine. Mr. Thope, I remember when we had a conversation with regards to 4IR the last time. I think when we were talking about that in our first conversation back at Ndiboneni, I think we were projecting what is happening now for 2022, 2023, 2024 with regards to the change and moving everything to the digital platforms and moving. But hey, now COVID-19 is here. It hit us when we least expected it, you know, and disrupting a lot of things that were sort of a norm for us in terms of the work that we're doing in our different companies. Now everything had to move to digital platforms. We had to work from home. And that means connection had to be improved in terms of being able to connect to our systems at work, being able to speak to different people. Some people actually, someone actually made a joke and said some people, the only Zoom that they know was the Zoom on their cameras. And now we are here and we are being introduced to this new meeting. Now we are also having to actually hold conversations like this instead of being in Ndiboneni. Do you think that companies were ready for this? And if they were, or if they were not, how can we also improve what we've been ready for? Because like I've mentioned, the fact that, you know, also the problem with connectivity, as you've seen me hanging and being kicked out of the systems and all here and there, in terms of the connection in Eswatini, for that matter. How can companies improve that, and what is it that 4IR is here to do for us? Because a lot of people have the notion that 4IR is here to to remove people from their jobs and take people's jobs, and you know, there are so many speculations that people have about the fourth industrial revolution. So can you try and put people's minds at ease, sir?
Okay, thank you very much, Lindo. Actually, what we were speaking about last year during the fourth industrial revolution talk in Ndiboneni was the future. But when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, that future immediately became the present. That future immediately became the present, and we all had to react. But I think the thing that we have not done right in our reaction is panic. We panicked, and out of all our panic, we started coining terms like the new normal, whatever. I don't have a problem with it, but okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the new normal has always been new.
Yeah.
It's not new at all. Because when you look at how we reacted to the pandemic, and from the time when the speaker spoke about the 4IR back in July last year, that's about 12 months, we were in a different configuration. It was a face-to-face encounter. But now we are here in just 12 months. We are meeting in this configuration now, in a video conference kind of setup, which means whatever we were speaking about there has soon become the reality. But I think in terms of being ready as a country, we are actually, I will not say that we are not ready. I will say we are not ready for the new normal. Because in terms of the new normal, I usually divide it into four. The first two are actually linked to the pandemic itself, strictly to the pandemic, which is the health and the economy. And then there is the education sector, which has to go through an evolution. And then the technological aspect itself, where we have to find ways of getting what you want at home, sitting at home, working from home, and everything. But for the country specifically, of getting what you want at home, excuse me, some, yeah. So there was a voice that I was hearing. So in terms of education, which I think you kind of channeled this conversation to look into education, I think we have three kinds of people in the country. Those who are privileged, they can have a phone at any time, they can have data all the time. For those, the online learning and the e-learning, whatever we call it, can replace the classroom. And then there's this other type of people that we have in the country, in the society, which need the parents to take charge for them to do their schoolwork. And then there is this last type, which is the I will not say less privileged, but I'll say the unprivileged, the ones that have to go to make sure that there's enough firewood, there's enough pot flour, there's enough water, and you see now we are getting into a kind of a problem. And then on top of that, there is the problem of digital divide in terms of network connectivity and internet access. The country is not well covered in terms of internet and connectivity. So have those kinds of things. So in terms of companies being ready, I think the focal point should be to start where the need is much, where the digital connectivity is low, and where the learners are less privileged or unprivileged at all. But now, with this last group, which I want to concentrate more on, the unprivileged one, it's not just the connectivity, internet, or phones, whatever. There's the problem of the technology cannot operate without electricity. And then it adds another weight into the problem. You see, so I think as a country, I think the basics are still beating us.
Yeah.
The basic things that we need cannot be able to support the new normal that we are speaking about. Yeah. Because we lack the basics. We have overlooked other societies, like in terms of what do you call it? In terms of improving them, in terms of electricity and everything, so that they can be able to cope with during this time. Because this time, I think we all need to join forces. It's not just the companies or whatever. If there's something that I can do as a person. But the platform is the one that is missing.
Yeah.
The platform, on which platform am I going to help where I think I can help? Yes. Because for me, or for us who are in this video conference setup, we can speak about the internet connectivity. We need the new normal. Things can be delivered but there is this child who is in Lavumisa.
now, and soon as it's done, as soon as COVID is done, we are just back to, hey, ngisendele nali paper walifile nga 25 July 1998 lapha, instead of, you know, moving through the systems and being able to get everything on technology wise. Do you think that we are now in a process whereby we're moving into the digital and technological sphere, and we are going to stay here, or we are going to go back to how things were, because hey, you can't change an old dog?
All right. My understanding is that COVID was an accelerator. It was a catalyst to a revolution that was already happening, like Shope just said. So I believe a lot of companies, for example, that have adopted remote work have realized that it's saving them on costs on rent, for example, for office space. So it's something that will continue. So even though some operations will go back to being a physical, but it will be a very small office. A lot of the people will remain remotely. So yeah, my belief is that the change is going to be permanent, because also, you know, COVID will stay for a very long time, and people will be forced to adopt the change. But then I also believe there's a requirement for a lot of structural change, rather than just adopting these technologies, because for the purposes of maintaining productivity, whether at work or at school. For example, like I think in education, because I'm listening to the conversation that's going around in education, and all these problems around electricity, access to gadgets and data. Shouldn't we be having a conversation about changing the structure of how the content is even delivered, not just how it's delivered, but the content itself. How does learning continue under the present circumstances? And I'm taken back to a few years back, maybe 20 years ago. My Boba Wamlomnan, my uncles ngesingisi. My uncles, there was no electricity at that time, but then those people in rural areas who were in high school at the time used to have this radio systems. They had speakers that, you know, they developed themselves, and they had solar panels, they had batteries that were charged by solar panels, and their houses were wired. And they did that solely on their own and on education that went around the community. So looking at the fact that the children that are in the rurals, like we're looking at 6 months now, and I don't think we can move fast enough to cover digital literacy as well, to cover all those things. I don't think we can move fast enough, but what we can look at is developing activists that can go to the communities. You know, I believe you need one person with a device in a community to actually assist learners or students with continuing learning on traditional education, but also those people with skills, at least, you know, get the kids to continue learning some of the skills that they can learn that can be useful for their time. Swaziland, I believe Swaziland has the most innovative people one of the most innovative people in Africa. We just need to create an enabling environment where people can believe in themselves. We need to take innovation to the constituencies, because it's at least it's Netinkundla where people actually have access to governments in their community, to government in their communities. So if we can do that, I think we can catch up very easily and define our own 4IR. You know, I don't think AI, for example, in Swaziland is what we need. I don't think, okay, even though things like blockchain can help, but it's too complicated for the problems that we have. I don't think those things fix the problems that we have directly. So if we can contextualize our own 4IR and work on it, I believe we can come out victorious or out of this COVID thing. And it also gives us an opportunity to assist government now. I believe EMA protocols are they're looking for solutions. If there's something, you just run with it. You give them that solution, and they'll probably run with it. But we need to reform. We need to make serious structural changes, and we are capable of doing that. I really believe in Eswazi.
Yeah. I like how you say that we need to actually put together a whole concept of what we think 4IR is for Eswatini, you know, because that then speaks to, don't you think that then speaks to the education that we currently have going on in the country? Does it really factor in the fact that we need to produce people that are going to, you know, feed into how and the what we need of the 4IR? Because if unfortunately we're still running programs that are not speaking to technology, and just to put you on the spot in terms of you currently sit in the Royal Swaziland Innovation, please correct me there.
Science and Technology Park.
Thank you very much. Yeah. With that, when it came into the country, we all had high hopes for the country, because it brought in a new Eswatini for everyone, you know, in terms of the vision that His Majesty had for 2022, and we all thought that that is where everyone is, you know, the whole country is channeling towards that, and then also it means that the education at high school level, even at primary level, is then obviously going to feed into what the Science and Technological Park requires. But when we look at it, we are still moving more on the causes that are, not to say anything negative about other causes, but we're still moving to the teaching, your nursing, your commerce, your marketing. No one is really running towards IT. No one is really running towards engineering. No one is really running towards chemistry and sciences. Even if we look at the numbers now, I don't think that there are a lot of people that are going towards that. So looking into the future and how we can actually then structure it for Eswatini, what is your comment there in terms of the numbers and the figures that will work towards forming what Swaziland needs in terms of 4IR?
All right. I understand that I'm in the midst of academics, but then, you know, my view, again, it's my view. My view is that a digital revolution cannot be run by academics. Academics can support it, but they shouldn't be at the forefront of running a digital revolution, because it requires people who don't think. So, for example, okay, Nazwelake is a brother of mine, Tandolwetu. We actually grew up together.
Yeah. When you say they don't think,
so man, no, I'm coming.
Okay,
I want you to give me an opportunity to bring this.
Yes. Okay.
The reason why I say it requires people who don't think is because change happens so fast. 4 years, in a program by the time you're out of that program, what you are learning,
Has changed.
is thinking has changed. So you need people who move so quickly. So that's why I'm saying that you need people who don't think. So, for example, before there was 4IR, I learned technology. In school, I never did anything to do with technology, by the way. So before there was talks about 4IR, I learned how to code using YouTube and all those resources that are there. I was studying law.
Okay.
When I was 14, 2006, I learned how to build a CPU at the age of 14, and a few basics on hardware, on computers and whatnot. But then the idea back at home is that a person who works with IT just fixes things. So the creative part of IT wasn't there. And then we've had a problem where people go out of the country to learn. And then when they come back, they become support and not creators. So there's that understanding that, you are just a kind of a support person.
Yeah.
So that kind of mindset that is still on the ground, I think has affected the optimism that everyone has with institutions like the Royal Science and Technology Park, because when people go there, like it basically operates like a school at the moment, where people learn IT courses and whatnot, and you do have the entrepreneurs that are there, but then there isn't much yet, because the creative element and the solutions that people use, we're using Zoom that is from the US instead of maybe if there was a Kumana or something from Swaziland. So the creative element isn't there yet, because the driving forces of the revolution are not actually the entrepreneurs, the 21-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, because you need those guys who do not think out, who do not reason too much,
who basically
are not
just
afraid
don't consider that there's a box.
Yes, who just do things. You understand?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, but things are changing. I believe. I believe things are gonna change. I just hope the change happens very fast. But yeah, we need to create an enabling
we're faith in you, sir. We're faith in you, sir, and the fact that you are a board member means a lot, because you are young and usakhona gijima and usakhona nekuphumeka from your peers.
Yeah.
So we are hopeful that with you on board, there's a lot that's going to change, and we will definitely get that kumana, or
But the more we need more young people, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
definitely.
kufanele bavele, because
Definitely.
kufanele bavele. But at the moment, mina into lengiyathiko and into leyangenza ngidecide kubaleka, because I told my father I had to leave Swaziland in end of 2006, because I had all these ideas that I had in my head, and I realized that I don't think the environment is, because like for example, if you claim you want to do the things that Bill Gates is doing, people will laugh at you, because people don't have hope. You understand? So, but if we can create that environment and encourage those people, if you know an entrepreneur who's building some tech thing, like just talk about those guys, boost them like they do everywhere, so that, because some like you had a 27 or 28-year-old, you're sitting with bantu labanabo 60 bo 50, and awukhuluma lo mfana lona naye so the more young people take up space, the better. But it's in our hands.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's
So
in
we
our
need
hands, but it will definitely happen. Yeah, we need more young people. So we need to create that environment. We need to create that environment, celebrate them. Like the ones that are there, not the ones that are outside, the ones that are there on the ground that are facing, the humiliated in everything. Celebrate those ones and push them so that ngoba nyalo ngabe sikhuluma nyalo nebantu labalena emakhaya. Look at Kenya. Kenya is not like a posh country like South Africa, but innovation wise it's very far ahead.
Yeah.
And it's also a poor country. So I don't think the fact that we are poor is an excuse for being digitally illiterate and unprepared.
So basically, we just need to make Eswatini a fertile ground for dreamers.
Yes.
So people can just be able to dream and have their dreams implemented and supported by everyone. And that, and more than anything, that has to go on with our government and our peers
and us as the people.
Us as the people, yes.
Us as the people. Because the government, I think we are looking for too much. We're asking for too much from government.
Yeah.
Because even in the US, it's not the government that's driving the innovation, but Tendoletu will confirm whether I'm right or wrong. In South Africa, it's not the government. The government is catching up now, but it was the private sector. It was the entrepreneurs that actually targeted the private sector, say that, okay, we want to take your money. We want to disrupt you. This is what we're planning on doing. We're bringing blockchain. We're removing banks. We're doing this. And then the private sector started shaking. But the entrepreneurs had that confidence because the people were supporting them. So they had the people. They had the influence. So the private sector had no choice but to jump and support. Yeah. So I believe it's in our power.
Yeah. So this one goes out to everyone watching us on all the platforms tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that the power is in our hands. We need to support all the entrepreneurs that we have out there, everyone that is, because where chaos is, as I mentioned earlier, that is where you find entrepreneurs, people coming out and doing different things. And they are always known as the ones that are crazy because they're crazy enough to think and do something that we are all just think that is unobtainable. And we need to support them, and they need to push this for us because, as you mentioned, that at 14 years old, you were already putting together a CPU, motherboard, so that is very impressive. Nobile, the number 2.
Yes.
Yes. You mentioned when we started in terms of what you're doing with new trends and journalism and communication. In Eswatini, currently, we were told that we need to stay at home and move as little and as not at all, but only just to move out for essentials, and that is newspapers form as I don't know whether they're essentials or not, but I stand corrected there. But the information wasn't free flowing as it should be, because a lot of information that we were getting it from social media, which is, I need to applaud our government for actually catching on to social media. They are now very active on Twitter, although the only thing that they need to do now is to respond to our queries even on social media. But we have moved to that, and we applaud the small change that government has done with that regard. But now, journalism, communication, media, how do we get print media onto social media or onto the internet? Because as much as, yes, I'll read the paper tomorrow morning, but I'm going to read the paper of information that I've already listened and read this evening. So tomorrow saying rehash would say, oh, this information I read it yesterday. What changes need to be done? What changes are being done in that front? And what is it that we can do to accelerate a lot of those things in terms of information getting to us when it happens?
Okay, thanks, Lindo. I'd like to start by piggybacking on Mr. Nkambule's point about mindset, because mindset is the game changer, really. I agree with him that it is the young people who are revolutionizing things. And when we speak about E4IR, also my thing is that COVID has basically just showed us in the scheme of things. It is not the thing that caused this problem that we're in. It basically highlighted where we are. So it's combisili inequality, it's combisili it's relaxed, it's comfortable. And because of that, it's when things happen. So about the media is fundamentally an issue, because right now journalism itself as a field is in trouble. The other day, BBC was announcing that they're cutting jobs. Australia didn't for even you won't see anymore your Bonas and your House and Home and your Cosmopolitan. They're closing down because
and just yesterday Drum was announced because it's closing down.
Yes,
as well.
They're closing down. The reason is that so we are not catching on and going where everyone is. So in media, your audience is your commodity, and you can sell that commodity to advertisers. It's traditionally what we've always done. So you see advertising, publish in my paper, and then everyone is happy. But now advertisers are going directly to the audience, which is on social media platforms. So that eliminates the need for the third party little paper or a magazine or a radio station even. So that means paper, I'll only be able to read tomorrow, but somebody like social media goes, what is the, so it doesn't make sense for me to spend my money on something that I've read anyway. So, and I'm astounded really that we in this country could set the EMA job losses, which is we thank God, but also it's concerning because we're not taking advantage of these digital platforms that we could be. For example, now so media I separate two. You talk about media as in the business of news making. So this is when we talk about paper or newspaper or TV, right? And then so logo nyalo, if you look at my paper Alakaya particularly, for example, you do get your news online, but they're not monetizing their digital spaces. So it's really not bringing any value back to them as well. For example, if you would check Mabomu Mail and Guardian, if you go online and you read the newspapers, you see the stories, but Mail and Guardian has been smart enough to realize, people are here, they will not then go out and buy the physical copy and see the adverts here on. So to bring value to their customers who are the advertisers, they advertise on their digital spaces as well, on their digital platforms. So Lapo, you're serving your audience and you're serving you are basically selling your audience to the consumer. So bayakhona kusho ukuthi oh sine traffic lengaka that comes to our website. Therefore, adverts charge kanje. So I feel like our newspapers here, our media organizations need to start looking at those adaptations and moving along, because at this rate, vele print is fading out, and you do need to be where the audience is. And also we do talk about media in terms of the platforms now. So social media, because that's where everyone is. And if statements are some Minister of Health online, there's no need for me to buy now this credible paper. So you've lost me as a member of the audience, and yet unale credibility when this is why we talk of fake news now. It's good problems are corner, but we do need our media agencies to then come back on the platforms where people are, where their audience is, and monetize that to derive value, and in that way be changing nabo and adapting to the new normal. So those things aren't necessarily happening in the speed that they should, but we do note changes, like other news, like other media houses are catching on, because now Swazi TV, for example, what Swazi TV has done is they have a YouTube channel, right? None of us, okay, very few of us in Swaziland watch Swazi TV.
Yeah.
So they had their YouTube channel, they were putting their content on there. We didn't care. Kwafike COVID, bahamba bayocoverisha a hospital hill, nangabe Prime Minister announce. What did we all do? Ngoba sithi Swazi TV endlini, nangisingena ku-YouTube, sa-check-a ukuthi sigadze kuba ukuthi namuhla iyaqala yini lockdown, iyagcina lockdown yendani. In that way, we are engaging in the comments, siyakhulumisana. That's good for Swazi TV, because now Sankhona, I'm looking around, how they have a travel channel, they have a travel program, they have this and that, they have this and that. So they've managed to, and they still bring their advertising along. So when when they sell their space to their advertisers, they say, oh yeah, we have Swazi TV, yes, the audience is from Gaga, but online we are also present. And it's not enough to have an audience, it needs to be an engaged audience as well.
Yeah.
So and they're doing it so well that they're on Facebook too. Like randomly, I'm scrolling my Instagram and when advert, I don't care, I don't have Swazi TV, I don't watch. I go on Facebook, I see the advert for Ekaya again. I'm like, okay, one of my comments, man, and you go in, you want to see what people are talking about. You see people are saying, this is good, this is nice, this is good. And Swazi TV is on the pulse that they didn't have Ekaya on their YouTube channel, but they said, we will only put one episode for you. After that, you need to make sure you get, and Ekaya is a local production, so we're supporting local. They said you need to go get Skujan. Skujan are wehlile, some 100 rand a person. But them accused the next day, and it's both they know Swazi TV has something to offer. So they are understanding the audience and where the audience is moving to, and they're on the pulse to say, this is what I want to do. We're not saying the same thing with our radio stations locally, but there's an amazing one, Jilele FM. They're purely online. I didn't know them also. And this is the thing about Kutsi, your audience is online. We're not sitting around waiting kushula, thinking up what you hear. Now, I'm minding my own business in the Instagram streets, in the Facebook streets. I see adverts for Jilele FM. In the end, because it's the nature of media, I catch on and I want to see, what is this? I've gone to the platform, and it's an amazing platform, and they have found a way to monetize as well. So I feel like now, even the business owners who are running these entities, let's say my news agencies, they're not tapping into the revolution that's happening with the technology. Because if Naskumanga 4IR, it's really not, yes, that the but we generally, we just need people who are able to think out of the box. So, ungacabanga ukuthi uphuma lapha ekwaluseni nesitifiketi se-journalism and mass comm, uyosebenza in the newsroom. Think about new ways in which you can bring journalism to the people. That's basically what we're saying. And people have access to their phones. So I don't need necessarily to buy a newspaper. So when you rely on me buying your magazine to be profitable, I'll use profitable business. So we're leveraging on technology in those different new ways, and we're not seeing that. And so I agree with the assertion that one of the panelists made, was we need to change the environment that we're in this country. Yeah, role, but as a organizations in the private sector, but in who have an idea that we've never seen before. Technology in there, just look for innovation, because okay, technology ngasho technology, but angicabang also lolowakha bo software konke noma bo motherboard, I don't know these things, but mina nje ngakhamga ngithi ngifuna kwenda iblog yami leta wenda naku yabona. So look at the innovation and our companies and our people who hold the purse bangajagi the profitability, because these things you need to give them time and just let them play with money in a safe and secure environment where they know, because if this thing doesn't work, my whole family loses their house, they lose this because so we need more fundamentally in this country, we need to think about the environment that we are creating and enabling. And I'm happy to see that a lot of Swazis, for example, are starting to be awake on the opportunities available on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you say YouTubers on Swazi YouTubers, you see a lot of people showcasing their skills. You see, this is the beauty of the 4IR. Ube engineer or ube IT person, you can just take your skills in a certain way. There's a thing that we're calling the COVID phenomena, where people basically realize that people are bored at home. Kuna Lady Makoti, who's a chef in South Africa. She has a book out, a cookbook out.
Yes, a
she
cookbook,
took her cookbook and said, today I'm teaching you how to make this. It's in the cookbook. She started cooking online. Her book is #1 today on the top sellers book list. So you have people who are doing makeup online. Already saying the beauty of this environment that we're in is you don't need gatekeepers anymore. Advertiser color page makeup black and white makeup so this is the thing that we're saying in a good leverage if is think out the box and then use these tools to market what you have. So now we at Funga sibone ube nepage ku-Instagram siyawusho ukuthi ngiyamthanda lo ngoba ngeke sikwadi vele otherwise asayi ku yini bese lencwadi lenkulu yaseposini lena inombolo direct asayi lapho nangifuna iservice sengivele ngingene ku-Facebook noma ku-Instagram and nangifuna i-recommendation so someone will tell me okay angeke ngiyeke ngiyobuka sithi ngakho impahla takho letendile ngiya ku-Instagram ngiyobuka lo msonko wakho lo uthungile. So these are the things that we're saying, and these are the things that we need to support. Those are things that we're doing now. That is exactly what 4IR is. It gives you the capability to sit in your house and talk to people that I've never met, like this brilliant minds, and share like this that I would never have otherwise met. Gadgets for this now.
Wow.
So I'll leave it there for now.
Woo, that is such a mouthful and it's so insightful. Hey, wow. I think a lot has been said about 4IR and a lot of people are scared of it. I remember one point in time I was in class the other day and our lecturer asked the question, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of 4IR? And the first person that answered was me losing my job, you know, and if when a lot of people think about it, they don't think about it the way that you've just translated it to us right now. Just take those opportunities that it comes with. There's so much that 4IR comes with. It is just not necessarily robots as everyone thinks. No, it provides all the different platforms that you can actually, you know, once you think of a new skill, you know, because also I think our biggest problem is as a people, we are very, very lazy. Once we learn one skill, we just sit with that one skill. So now 4IR uyafika and disruptor skilling is funzile ukuthi ati mina ngathi typer lana kuphela njalo sekune-laptop le ngithayiphisa ngema-keypads la clear la njani hayi no or iyangithayiphela senginenkinga. I think we need a lot of reskilling, you know, teaching ourselves, learning every day, also in terms of what the opportunities that are out there for us and in bettering ourselves and with regards to new norm. Because I feel like, yes, if you don't learn and you don't improve yourself, but it's all up to you because as Piwa said, we need to think like there's no box at all, you know. Entrepreneurs do that, like good del pogisi, guys, not even outside the box, like good del pogisi. With that said, ladies and gents, I would like to take a few questions and comments from our Facebook page. I think the first one that we will go to is Bongegile Terry Matsenjwa on Facebook says, Eswatini is ranked as one of the countries with the highest cost of data. How can private public, and NGOs work together to provide affordable data. How can we get Tinkundla to join in on assisting? As much as you are on your personal capacity, we would like to throw this one to you, Sino.
To be honest, the fight, I hope they won't come and shoot me. The fight should go to the regulator. Because my organization buys data through SPTC. So if we buy for 50 rands, we can't sell for 10 rands, otherwise we'll definitely go under in high level, if I would put it that way. So the regulator needs to look at how do we lower the prices to the international standards, because I agree, it's not very cheap. Even I just got disconnected. I had to switch to another device because, yeah, but fortunately I do have the option. So if this one acts up, we move to the next one, but that doesn't go for the general person out there. Yeah. So the quickest or the easiest way is through the regulator. The regulator must come up with what is the acceptable pricing for data, and it should go to the wholesale. Then for us, reducing the prices, it will be easy. Okay, the other alternative is if we don't go via the, the mentioned wholesaler. So that's the other alternative.
Okay, just to a follow-up question there. Currently, does the company is the connection worldwide, countrywide now in terms of is everyone covered in terms of connectivity, or are there still places that are still lacking with and because also that says even if ngabe nginayo le data lena but maybe connection kude ngedolobheni ngithola signal ngikhona ngena.
All right, so we have I'll be a bit technological or technical. So we have 2G, 3G, 4G. If we look at 2G, we'd say maybe 98% coverage. 3G, I'm not sure specifically the figures, but it's a high coverage. Then you have 4G. 4G, obviously, we're not covering the whole country. It's your Mbabane Manzini corridor and then certain areas, because there's also the cost of infrastructure for us. So you want to target the places where you will get the revenue in terms of smart devices. So we can't just go to Madlang MPC and put 4G there, and then there's two customers who, I hope you get the point. But in terms of coverage, yes, 2G, the whole country. 3G, we've covered maybe above 80%. It's then been corrected, but 4G, that's still in progress. But the focus is the Mbabane Manzini corridor as primary. That's where we have the smart devices.
Okay. No, thank you very much. This one is on education. I will like to give it to either Mr. Hlope or Mr. Dlamini. Dabula A. Dlamini says, is our education system relevant to global changes in relation to respond to job creation? If you'd like me to repeat that, please let me know.
And you have to choose between us. Which one do you want to reply, to do the response?
I can start with you, sir, and then we'll go to the one that is currently obtaining his master's, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe you can repeat the question for me.
Okay, the question says, it's from Dabula A. Dlamini. Is our education system relevant to global changes in relation to respond to job creation?
In response to that question, I would like not to respond directly, but to respond in the form of question.
Okay.
For most of Swazi students who are privileged, or let's say who are above the normal privilege of going to government schools, they finish their O level or whatever it is, what we call in Form 5 these days. They finish and then they go to South Africa to do matric.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it exactly that they want to supplement by finishing high school in Swaziland? Because by finishing high school, it means now we are ready to go to the tertiary institutions that the country offers. What is it exactly that they want from matric? Because as a country, we have the last grade as from 5, and then we are allowed entry to university.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I answer that one with the question, it might help correct the question that was asked by Dabula. What is it exactly that they want to supplement?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think can answer even the fact that they want to go outside the country to improve their education or something. It means that there's something that is that they see that is missing in the whole education system. I don't want to speak and elaborate on that because we don't have enough time now. But if there is someone who can finish school in Swaziland and go outside the country to finish it again, it means something. And I think that would answer the question that he has asked. I don't want to say it is in line with global whatever. I don't want to say anything about that. But based on the question that I've asked, it might answer even more questions that might be asked in the future.
It is not. But over to you, Mr. Dlamini.
Well, thank you for the question and thank you for the opportunity to speak. One thing that I will talk about is when you talk about job creation, one thing that came to mind for me is entrepreneurship, and I think that our school systems and also our culture should encourage entrepreneurship. You know, I remember in high school I used to do a lot. I used to like sell biscuits. I used to sell burgers and all that. And I remember some of my teachers would say why am I busy? You know, like selling items that my fellow students needed instead of like studying. You know, even though I was trying to juggle both. And so there wasn't anybody that, you know, encouraged that kind of like thinking of saying, I've identified a need, I've identified a problem, and I've come up with a solution. And so that's one thing that we
It's from also a comment on that one. Anyone can take this one. I will not give it to Sino anymore. With regards to Mr. Tambule, do you have anything that you might add on that one?
That's too political. But then, but the whole world, almost the whole world wasn't ready. The whole African continent wasn't ready. And, you know, inequality is a problem that was there everywhere. But also, again, going back to the issue of responsibility, removing the burden of, even though government has to be responsible, but there's also a responsibility that principals of high schools have. Government provides them with what government provides per year, and I'm not like becoming a government defense force, but government provides them with what government provides them with. They collect school fees. Whatever funds that are collected, building fund and whatnot. What are the schools doing with that money? You understand? And then it goes back to having, how can we then have capable people leading these things? Because the difference is that the teacher in a school in town might channel resources towards having that computer lab and a science lab. Lo wasemakhaya yena akakuboni next one lokho uyabona. So those are the and also you have like the corruption issues as well. They embezzled some of the funds. So at the same time, in as much as government wasn't ready, but also you know, let's make those who are responsible. Account for the whole world wasn't ready.
Could I just jump in for 2 minutes with that? Because I like that a lot. I agree. Also, it's a beautiful example that you're making. A good see kumbelo asedelopeni tishela on a science lab and then loasa makaka next year. Usually sikubona kulama donated computers and projectors and things like that. These things are given to students to use. Ukanze kukhiyelwe ema office or sakubekiwe kuthiwe no. Kanzi, these kids need to be able to touch these things, to experience them. And in this way, these are the gadgets that we use to teach them. And bese logo kwenda lokuthi sicabanga technology, we think gadgets. Kanzi lokuthi nje ngikwadi ukuvula i-laptop le skill leso nekuthi ngimaneuver njani around kuyasala lokho ngoba basinika baka-UN safaka sakhiyela ngoba sibekile satakweba uyabona. That's what is for the students to use. So sisacabanga nale issue yema-gadgets, sicabanga nokuthi i-gadget iyodwa nje umfana esikole ayimsidi. They need skills development to use these things. Like Mr. Nkambule had mentioned earlier, because digital literacy is important, and it just doesn't come nangabe vele ukule ku environment lengavumi. So we do need leadership, insight to those things almost. Yeah, because we need our leaders to be aware of what's going on in the world. But sometimes no the prioritization, you wonder yourself, do we see the changes that are happening?
Can I also add?
Yes, please.
Because I see Mabizo, they focused on the students, yet we still have the entrepreneurs as well. When COVID came, because of the culture that we have in the country, we are more, I want to see you, to do business with you, which is the wrong culture. So this has sort of exposed everyone to say, okay, my company is not digital. And instead of dying with the company, the entrepreneurs should start thinking, okay, clearly I need to be digital. And not only the entrepreneurs, even the potential clients or the
answer their emails.
business people they can work with, they also need to have a change of mindset. And okay, I know there are trust issues. We don't have physical address. We want to see an office because should someone then be shady, I need to go and but if everything now is online, where am I going to get this person? And maybe there's some money transactions that have happened. So yes, this is challenging, but we need to see how can we innovatively overcome all these challenges, such as how can I validate that this is you and where can I get you? There must be another way that we can validate a person and we can find them.
And actually, sorry, and actually a point on that, what Nobile is raising. Like, in as much as people are complaining about the cost of data, almost everyone has WhatsApp. Almost everyone has Facebook. Like the majority of the people, I know that in the population later, WhatsApp stock files are thriving. Like it's possible to create an online store on WhatsApp now and operate on Facebook. Like why are people not using those resources? Like they're on the app every day. It will use the same data that it uses for the fake news that spread every day, and the chain messages that people always forward.
They spread every
so
day.
Why so why don't they? I think we need to take that responsibility as a people. I really believe we need to push that each other.
I think a lot of people use we tend to use social media and just to spread the fake news, spread that information. We just go in to look at who's wearing what, who's doing what, and we don't necessarily look at what we can do with it and that is going to benefit us. I think that is a change that needs to happen to all of us, that we can use social media for good, and there's a lot that we can gain from social media, from the different platforms that are there. So a lot of people need to learn that moving forward. I think this would actually leads me to a comment that I want to make with regards to what Nobile said in terms of mindsets and insights and preparation, because also with how COVID hit us, I don't think that a lot of companies were able to do research and read up and actually get to identify what their company's needs, their current needs, and analysis on what needs to be done for them to actually catch up with the whole technological side of it. So a lot of us are playing catch up a lot, and it is somehow, in some companies it's showing, and in some companies it's not showing, because some of us are paddling underneath and we're ducks on top. But there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of going in and sitting down and saying, this is the situation that we currently have at hand. How can we improve ourselves? How can we mitigate the situation? And what can we do for the public? And what can the public do? And there's a comment here that I think I'd like to share, because we are out of time now, unfortunately. This one is from Seni Mayabane. She says, we need to cultivate an innovator owner mentality and not just a user worker mentality. early on in our learning system, we tend to be consumers.
Yeah.
That comment, yes, that we have from her. But due to time, is unfortunately I cannot go through a lot of the comments and the questions that they have sent through. But I would appreciate it if for those that have Facebook to go onto our page to assist with the questions that are there, maybe just tonight and then tomorrow and then whatever comes on. But because a lot of people want to know, a lot of people want to learn, but because of we are limited to time here. But with that said, I would like just to give all of you just 30 minutes to just say your parting words and maybe words of encouragement or words that, because we are, like we mentioned earlier, that we are dealing with a new normal. And as Mr. Thope mentioned, that it's not really a new normal. It's been there. It is just now that it is new to us because we are playing catch up. And maybe just a word of encouragement or something in terms of what we can do as a people, so that we are also because people really fear them losing their jobs, and it is happening. It is not a myth, but unfortunately, as you mentioned, that a lot of people haven't recently lost their jobs this side, which we're very unfortunate for. But yeah, just the 30 seconds brush through. I will give it to the ladies first.
Okay, I'll go first, as I did in the beginning.
Yes.
My parting words is to the geniuses out there, the app developers. We as MTN, we have introduced some API integrating platforms that we would like them to come and play around with, because that would be a business opportunity, because we would want the corporates in the country to have apps such as your water, SEC. I know they have Facebook pages, but let them evolve to apps, and that's going to come from the different geniuses out there. So we have Open API, we have Med API. That's one of our new platforms. We are ready for you guys. We are ready for your innovation. Come, let's play and change Eswatini. Even the agriculture sector, just because you are growing cabbages does not mean you don't have to marry that with technology. Technology is around us. Technology should be our friend. We should embrace it. And to, let's say, to the whole nation, let's learn to adapt. COVID is here. We don't know when it's going to bid us farewell. Papers, we should try and reduce as much as we can. I had someone come through to my door recently. They wanted to sell to me an app. So in our engagement, I asked them, why are you trying to give me a paper? Because for me, a paper is COVID. I say, why are you giving me COVID? So haven't you heard of QR codes, And then they say, oh, I've learned something new. But let's go out there. Google is the best university in the world. Anything you want, just go to Google and ask, Google, how can I do this? How can I better my business? How can I improve my business? And you specify what business. There are so many tips. People are not stingy with information. Let's be friends with Google. I know you'll say, yeah, but data. Yeah, use the data that you have. Instead of going to Facebook for fun, go to Google University and learn something. Thank you. Otherwise, it was wonderful spending time talking about the new norm. Look forward to another session if there would be.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you.
As I'm parting short, I'd like to encourage everyone who uses some form of social media to find an alternative use for it that is not social. So we won't all be influencers, but like I mentioned earlier, you can sell your gift online, you can teach us something online, you can write a book and self-publish. there's multiple things you can do online. So I just like people to think of ways to use social media platforms for anything else other than social use, and then take it from there, develop it from there. You don't know what you might come across. And thank you, Simply Speaking, for having me. It was quite an insightful conversation.
Thank you very much for answering our call. Mr. Damini, over to you.
Unmute.
Oh, yes. Thank you, and I would say thank you for this opportunity to engage and have this discussion and conversation. It was really exciting, and I'd also like to put in a plug in terms of connectivity and expanding access to connectivity in the country. There's a company that people should check out in Eswatini, Wandaport Eswatini, that's in the process of connecting 170 schools across the country in Eswatini, so that they get internet access, and they're building the infrastructure from the ground. And so check that company out. And then I'd also put in a plug in at TKI. We have been working very hard to help students in the transition from high school to university, and also from university to further education or into their careers. And we have actually recently launched a platform, and we are in the constant development of a platform for young people to actually be able to support their transition needs, whether it's applying to universities or getting access to opportunities. So they should go onto our website, the Knowledge Institute, and they'll find the different activities that we have there. And then in terms of encouragement, I would just say that as humanity and as the human race, we are very resilient, and we have dealt and survived many crises before this one. And so we will go through this one if we support each other, if we stand together, and if we, have a growth mindset, and take this not as a way that, as something that's going to destroy us, but as something that will build us up and elevate us to what's coming next. So thank you. With that, I'd say thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And we just keep on wearing our mask and washing our hands. Please, can you plug us with those links on the comments in this conversation, so that people can easily access those, and they can get all the help that they need, please. Mr. Shope.
Yes, thank you very much. From whatever we have been discussing here, the bottom line or the common denominator has been that we still have a lot of issues. As much as the world is getting into the digital era or the age of the algorithm, something is not yet there, because we still have some basic issues like expensive data and all those kind of things. So in terms of the new normal that we came here to speak about, I think, because for now, for Swaziland, the 4IR and whatever is going to be a fantasy, because we still lack the basics in terms of that and all those kind of things. So let me ask a disturbing question and a parting question, that because our new normal seems like it's going to be a different new normal from everyone else in the world. Because in as much as the new normal is a term that is been coined, and that it's a new normal because we are not going to go back to the old normal post-pandemic. What is the alternate society that we are going to have as a country, in the way in which we are different from everyone in terms of the lack of whatever we're lacking? And if the plague lasts long enough, and the pressures that are mounting continue to mount. People dying, people losing their jobs, and everything going full swing. What is the alternate society that we want to build in order to reconcile with the coronavirus that is plaguing the country? In terms of the alternate society, I mean the post-pandemic, I would say post-pandemic economy that we want to build as a country.
Mm-hmm.
As post-COVID-19, if there's going to be anything like that. Yeah. What is it exactly that we can do? Because it is the common denominator from what we have been talking about is that we still lack the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to think about the new normal the same way in which the world is thinking about them, we have to fix the basics first.
Mm-hmm.
Put electricity infrastructure and everything, and then we can think at the same level as the other people in other countries and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So as my duty is to disturb everyone, is that we are still not ready for the world new normal. We have our own new normal, which is going to be normal to us only.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I hope that someone on any of our platforms out there will answer that question for us. Mr. Ngambule.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the invite. It was an honor to be amongst the people I was speaking with today. I'm greatly honored. As a parting shot, I think we just have to ask the right questions as individuals, rather than folding hands. I believe COVID gives, even though it has its negatives, but it gives everyone an opportunity to contribute something. If you have a qualification in biotechnology or medical sciences, are you asking yourself questions around how can we cure this? Because those are the questions that we're supposed to be asking ourselves, so that we can begin to participate even in fixing the problem on a global scale. Change begins in dorm rooms and garages, and it doesn't begin in like big fancy buildings. So I still believe in the potential on the ground, and I just think people should go for it now. Barriers to entry are low. Government is panicking, big business is panicking. Everyone is looking for solutions. So it's a good opportunity for those with innovative solutions. They don't have to be technology only to do something. It has leveled the playing field. That's what I believe.
Thank you very much. It has leveled the playing field. I hope everyone is listening to that, and they will wake up tomorrow and dust on their business plan or that information that they wanted to share with the world, and they will start approaching those different companies and those different businesses to sponsor them and to invest in them, because it's everyone's game right now. Everyone needs to go and take their shot in whatever that they need to do. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate you being here with us, your time and your insightful in minds, and we know digging into your brains has been such a very beautiful moment for me, and I have also learned a lot from all of you. So thank you very much. With that said, please make sure, ladies and gents that are on all our different streams tonight, that you join us next week, same time, same place, that is on our Facebook page and on our Instagram and on our YouTube page. We will be streaming live. Next week, we will be discussing the arts, how COVID-19 has affected and impacted, and the arts sector in the country. We will be joined by Tunzi Shedozwane from Swazi Boy. We will have Wedile Masugu from Ekaya, the Ekaya director. We will also have Petile Masilela, who is a gospel artist. So make sure that you join in. We will also make sure that you also look out for our poster, and that will be out sometime next week. So please join us on our Facebook page. And from to myself and the rest of Simply Speaking team and from our panelists, it's a good night and thank you very much for joining us.